reviewing the Italian Grand Prix, won from pole by Max Verstappen, his first victory since Imola. Loves Italy, does Max Verstappen. Joined on the podium by both McLaren drivers, Lando Norris in second, Oscar Piastri in third. So McLaren's first non-win in a little while. Sam, we're all calm. We're fine.
Yes, there definitely won't be any loud reactions on the show. We definitely will be calm about all events that took place, and I promise you there will be no controversy discussed. Only kidding, just the Late Breaking F1 podcast. Harry, I'm sure you enjoyed every moment of that Grand Prix. Famously, you love Monza, so this must have been heaven for you.
And yes, and I'm so pleased and happy that we have now had the fastest ever F1 race. That is what no one cares about.
I didn't have the round of applause lined up on the soundboard. I'm sorry.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I don't care.
First thing out of his mouth, folks, we talk before we record. Harry, I do not care that this is the shortest Grand Prix of all time. Immediate.
Who cares? Stop talking about it.
Good. We'll get to the battle in the top three. We've got Ferrari fourth and sixth to discuss. So many incidents, so many penalties that we'll be giving our thoughts on. Driver of the day, worst driver of the day. Big brain Strat, not big brain Strat, as I called it on yesterday's review. And moment of the race is coming up later on as well. But we'll start out front, as we always do, with the race winner, Max Verstappen, taking the win from pole position. Had to work a little bit on the first couple of laps in order to dispatch of Lando Norris, but from there on out, seemingly a pretty comfortable victory, just short of 20 seconds separating Verstappen and Norris at flag. Sam, how impressed were you with Verstappen? A return to victory for him after a little while. Seemed to be pretty elated about it after the Grand Prix. Not something that we saw routinely when he was winning routinely a couple of years ago. How impressed were you with what he did?
Yeah, I think I saw someone call it a Masterclass, which I'm not sure if that's something I can get on board.
That's it.
That's the end of the show.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, as I have to deal with. Yeah, I mean, what a drive. The Italian double for Max this season. He goes from winning Monza, an incredibly downforce, Imola, incredibly downforce heavy racetrack, almost the opposite of Monza, which is pure straight line speed, heavy braking through those tight corners that we saw in Monza today. And what a performance it was. Gives the position back to Lando Norris right at the start. And I think rightly so. It got a little bit hairy into turn one, which it often does in Monza. And we love that corner for the drama that it supplies. But once he kind of let Norris back through, the hunt was immediately on. And the way he turned it back on, the way he went from going from being, fine, bit grumpy about it, I'll let him pass, to, okay, I'm coming back through now. The move was sublime, gets it done nice and easy. Being able to tussle with Lando Norris, you're thinking, here we go. We have one of those races on our hands, one of those days where we're going to see it go back and forth, back and forth. Ben's bold predictions definitely going to come true, and it's going to be a generational day for Formula One. And Max Verstappen just kind of wiggles that finger. He just ran away. The guy just ran away. There was no need at any point for him to worry, for Red Bull to worry. Lauren Mekies, of course, gets his first victory at the helm of Red Bull. And what a sublime victory it was. It never looked in doubt. Once Verstappen got out in front, the management of the gap was eccentric, just head down, pushing the whole way through. The tyres were starting to grain, starting to tear. We saw the blisters. And it just didn't stop him, didn't phase him. He just kept on going, built that pit stop gap. And then once we got to the end of this Grand Prix, to be nearly 20 seconds clear of the McLarens after the dominance that they've displayed, the biggest winning margin of the entire season, tells you a lot. What a butt to the trend that we've seen so far this season. An absolute incredible performance from Max Verstappen. Once again, you run out of superlatives to describe just how good Max Verstappen really is when he gets the car underneath him.
Harry, I'm mistaken. I thought the year was 2025, but apparently it's 2023.
I know, it's good to be back, everyone. Just never give him a sniff. Never give him a sniff of an opportunity to win a race, because Max Verstappen will seize it. And as you said, Sam, just run away. Like, just ran so far away. And it was obvious from, I think from practice, but then I think qualifying yesterday, that first run in Q3, and they cut to GP on the pit wall, and I was like, Oh boy,
This is Bahrain all over again, pre-season testing.
literally. He's trying to not look smug because he knows what's coming. This was to my point. Never give him not never give him a sniff, but if you do give him a sniff of a win, Verstappen is going to deliver on it as he did today. And even with the argy-bargy at the start of the race, it didn't phase him, and he eventually got the move done to get back past Norris, and then just disappeared off into the distance, which has not happened that many times this year. But that was massively dominant from Verstappen. I think very well managed. He was clearly great on his tires. I mean, everyone was great on the tires because you could just run the same tire for about a year around here for some reason today. But he managed that very well. I think they were very calm. And once he'd made his pit stop, there was obviously a risk of a safety car, but he closed down that safety car window to the McLarens in front. It was done. It was all but done. So superb drive by Verstappen.
Yeah, this was very much a reminder of 2023, where we didn't see Verstappen a great deal in this Grand Prix because he was so comfortably clear of the rest of the field. And I appreciate there is the point of these tyres and how seemingly this weekend, I think they just painted the tyres wrong and all of them were the medium tyre. The soft, medium and hard tyres seem to be able to go as long as each other. And all of them were able to go well into this Grand Prix. We had multiple cars pitting with a lap or 2 laps to go. Verstappen didn't go that far, but he was setting purple sectors on what I think was lap 36 on his hard tyres, on his medium tyres, excuse me. So, what he was, even so, that was impressive, the way in which he was able to not only extend the lead, but know how much he could extend the lead, but still keep those tyres alive. To the point where strategically, you don't want to be in an undercut window. You want to negate that 2v1 advantage that McLaren technically had, and he had the gap to do so. There was no fear at all. I was a bit surprised when he came in for his one and only pit stop, because he came in earlier than both McLarens, and it's like, why not just wait for both of them to stop? You're not in an undercut window at all. But that's how unworried they were by what McLaren were doing today. McLaren shouldn't be overly worried about this because they've been dominant at so many other circuits, and going into this weekend in our preview, we said it's unlikely to go that way this weekend. It's possible that either Mercedes, maybe Ferrari or Verstappen could mount a challenge. It ended up being Verstappen. But he, as you rightly said, Harry, you can't give him a sniff, because as soon as you do, he takes advantage of it. Yes, there was something he had to navigate in the first couple of laps, but as soon as he re-overtook Norris, bye-bye, he was off. There was no doubt about the result whatsoever. It does come back to my annoyance that Red Bull haven't developed a slightly better car, because we'll get on to McLaren in a little bit, but these games that McLaren are playing, they wouldn't be able to play them if Verstappen was just a little bit closer. He's not. And that's on Red Bull, but at least today, excellent performance.
Thought games were meant to be fun then. Not sure what game they're playing. It's pure torture for everyone else involved.
Maybe so. A quick mention, Sam, on the first lap incident. You said that it was right for Verstappen to give that place back. Why is that your understanding of the situation?
Realistically, I think Norris has the inside. They go into the corner wheel to wheel, side by side, and it allows him to get a lasting advantage. Because of the way the corner sits out, I understand that he's putting negating any contact, and I think that's sensible. It makes sense that it's like one turn when you don't want to take your front wing off or pick up a puncture or destroy your suspension like Fernando Alonso did on the exit of Ascari. Poor Fernando. But I do think that by taking the exit road off the racetrack, wasn't really the exit road, he cut the chicane, and then immediately giving the place back. Whilst I feel like he was trying to get away with it, and hey, that's what every great racing driver does, they try and get away with it, it was right to know that he had the speed. He didn't need to risk it. They were in there side by side. And, even if you gained a whiff of an advantage, you give that place back and you take it back again. It cost him nothing in the long run of this race. Red Bull were very confident in their ability, as they should have been. And It led to no difference in the result. So for me, this was the safe and sensible option from Red Bull to ensure that they got the result they needed without any bizarre penalties. We'll get onto the stewards, but they were on a mag one today, so you never know how that could have gone. They did the right thing by swapping that place back and then winning it back. So yeah, it's just because it was so close, wheel to wheel, between the two protagonists of this race at the front.
I'm going to force Harry not to sit on the fence here because I'm going to give him the deciding vote here. I actually think he was right to give the place back because I do agree. I think it was just the safer option in a race where he had, I think, a car that was capable of winning. But in terms of the incident itself, I don't put it on Verstappen. Like, it's very similar to the one that we had at Saudi Arabia where Verstappen was penalised. That was against Piastri, but he kept the lead on the outside. Norris gives him no room on the outside. And I just hate the way that they go racing at the moment. Like, why are we just enabling this? Now, McLaren will claim Verstappen was not making that corner anyway. Leave him the room and then he can prove that he isn't going to make the corner. Then you penalise him. Like, it's just so straightforward, I think. If you leave that gap and Verstappen still can't make that corner, he has to give it back immediately. But whilst Norris is running him off the road, I'd just like to see you put him out there. Deal with it, is the way that I would go racing. But Harry, I'll give you the deciding vote on it.
I was the same as you, Ben. I think it was the safe option to do. And given the pace that they obviously had, why wouldn't you do that? It was so early on in the race. So it was the right call from Red Bull. But yeah, I don't buy that Verstappen was in the wrong, to be honest. Yeah, he was given no room. I did think the irony being that Verstappen came on the radio was like, he just opened up the steering and the brakes and ran me off the road. I was like, Max, mate.
Oh, there's a lot of irony.
Done this.
Huge amount of irony.
So many times. Yeah. But in this scenario, you are correct. That is what has happened. So I don't think he was in the wrong at all. But yeah, funny nonetheless. But yeah, I agree. It was the right call to do there and then. Had it been later on in the race and they'd done pit stops, etc., you might say, well, probably worth just taking the hit and the 5 seconds or whatever they're going to give you. But at that point in the race, I think it was the sensible call to swap back.
Okay, we can't leave it any longer. Sam is practically frothing at the mouth. He's almost out of his seat because we need to get on to the McLaren discussion. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, they both pit later than Max Verstappen. It's Lando Norris in the lead, Oscar Piastri in second. After a discussion on team radio, it's decided that Piastri in second will stop first for new soft tyres. Lando Norris comes in the lap after. Piastri's stop, pretty much perfect, 1.9 seconds. Lando Norris's stop, not perfect, about 4 seconds slower. A problem with the left front leads to Piastri getting an unintended undercut. Piastri is then asked over team radio, can you switch the positions? Piastri not entirely happy about that, but does agree to do so, meaning they finish second and third, Norris ahead of Piastri. Sam, I guess there's a couple of different angles here. There's the decision to pit them that way round in the first place. There's the call from McLaren to make the switch. And then there's Piastri's decision to actually agree with it and go along with it. What did you make of all of it?
I hated every second of that interaction. It made me feel sick. This is not what I want from title rivals. This is not what I want from our championship fight. This is not how Formula One should be played out. We were saying before we came on air, bring me back Hamilton and Rosberg throwing caps in each other's faces. Bring me back Catalonia where they throw each other into the wall. I'm all about, doing it for the team. The team are winning the championship next race. You're going to be champions in Baku. So stop being nice and holding each other's hands. Throw each other off the bloody racetrack to win a championship. It's your dream. It is your lifelong dream to do this. And what are you doing? Oh, I want to make sure he gets the undercut on Leclerc and isn't beaten by. Why? Why, Norris? Why are you bothered? Let him lose points to Leclerc. Let him fight with Leclerc. Might have a crash. You'll be back in the championship fight. Why are you doing that in the first place? And if you arguably just stopped first, you probably would have had the wheel gun problem. You'd be off down the road. No issue whatsoever. Piastri gets that shout because you've so graciously given it to him, your title rival. You're now 34 points behind. Why? I don't know. But then Piastri gets the perfect pit stop, is 4 seconds clear of Leclerc, proving that there was no threat whatsoever. And then McLaren screw you over. The wheel gun doesn't work. You lose out, Piastri goes through. Is that Piastri's fault? No. You let him have the stop. McLaren are the ones with the bag wheel gun. Oh, can we swap, please? Please, can we swap? I'm really sad. Shut up, stupid sport. You should be trying to attack him. Get back over him. Make the overtake. Put a move on him. There's no right or wrong. What? Oh, can you move out the way? No. Stop it, farcical, stupid papaya rules. And why Piastri is allowing it to happen? You've just been given a freebie. See you later. Bye. 3 more points for me. Championship gone for you. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I got a message on Twitter, and fair enough, being like, please don't be hysterical about this. Do you know who I am?
Thank goodness you stuck to that.
We listened.
This is a joke, an absolute joke. I hate this, McLaren. I hate it so much. It's embarrassing. It's one of the worst calls I've seen in a championship fight from a spectator's point of view. Piastri is, I don't know, some kind of saint for allowing that to come back through, because it blows my mind that a championship rival will just let one come back through due to a team mistake that he had no part in. Absolute joke, that is. I was appalled watching it on the telly.
Bit of a niche visual reference, but when they were talking about the possibility, the threat of Leclerc, which was an absolute tractor through the corners, by the way, that Ferrari. It was a bit like do you know the LeBron James gif, the one where he's on the court like, oh, yeah, Leclerc in fourth in a Ferrari, like terrifying.
Scary.
Right, so Sam's verdict was inconclusive. Harry, what about yours?
This championship rivalry we got is like ordering a house.
You can't call it a rivalry. It has. It
well, yeah,
deserve
that's
it.
what I mean. There isn't one. It's pathetic. There's just all of them are so stupid. Why are you're so stupid for a championship winning team? It hurts my soul. What? All of you. Norris to begin with. Why are you making that call? Why are you even offering that up? Like, do you not want to win this championship? Why would you not have the better strategy here and pit first? You are in front of Piastri. You get to call it. Say Leclerc is a threat, which he's not, because as you say, Ben, the Ferrari in a corner was a tractor every time I went in and tried to kill Leclerc. Awful. But yeah, even if he was under threat, which he wasn't, why would Norris not want that? Why would you not want Piastri to potentially lose a spot and gain more points on him? It's like you said, Sam, it's like, it's all too nice. And I hate it. I hate it so much. The point being, what precedent they've set now, because what happens if this happens at another race, but it's the other way around, and Piastri has a slow stop, and there are other people in the way. I don't know. Where do you go from here? And if you're Piastri, it might come back to bite him. He might get to Abu Dhabi and he'll go, man, I really wish I had those extra few points I gave up in Monza. It's frustrating to watch as a fan, especially, McLaren have been so dominant, and I think the one thing we've always said about Mercedes when they were dominant in the start of the hybrid era, what we credited them with, and Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda with, they let their drivers race. There's not a hope in hell that Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg
won't
would
let the drivers race here. It's not even, the drivers won't let themselves race.
It's abysmal. It's abysmal to watch that. And as another example, imagine GP coming over the radio to Max Verstappen and saying you need to let him back pass because there's been a problem in the pit stop. Max would have told him to shove it. I can't say what he would say because it would have to be bleeped. But they're so far out in front. It's almost like they've forgotten they're fighting a world championship, as in the two drivers. This is, and they're just fighting the team game. It's quite a weird. It's quite a weird mentality they've managed to instill here, where the team comes first above anything. I don't know what Zach Brown's threatening them with if they don't oblige by these rules. Like, he's got people hostage? I don't know. Nod and blink twice, Lando and Oscar, if you're in danger, because I can't think of anything else otherwise. Why are you being so nice? You're fighting for a championship, you morons.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up Verstappen and what his reaction would have been, because we did hear from Verstappen what he thought of the incident. But it just reminds me of the Brazilian GP a couple of years ago when he wouldn't give Perez, what was it, like 6th place when he'd already won the championship. It's just so contrasting.
The phrase, I think it was, "Don't ever ask me to do that again," came out, right?
Right.
Yeah, you punks.
I wish I could come on here and give the alternate view, because I know there are going to be people on both sides of the fence here, but I can't. I'm with you both. Like, it's just so stupid. And if the Constructors' Championship position was different, I could understand it. Like, if they were locked in a fight with Ferrari or Red Bull like they were last year, okay, I get it. They're not. They are so far clear. It's done. I know mathematically it's not done, but it's done. To the point where these drivers, they should just be able to go out 100% for themselves at this point. And you're right, Norris shouldn't care that Piastri, well, he should care that Piastri could lose a position to Leclerc, but care the other way round in that he doesn't want to help him get that spot. He should be doing what he could to make him lose that spot, because he's got an over 30-point deficit in this championship, and today hasn't made much of a dent. 3 points. That's it. Piastri, even with making that switch, hasn't lost a great deal today. And there was the potential maybe to lose more than that. I'm a little bit annoyed at Piastri for letting it happen. I'm a bit annoyed. I'm maybe even a little bit more annoyed at Lando Norris for suggesting it. I think I'm still most annoyed at McLaren and the fact that it's this wishy-washy over team radio. We're going to do this. Well, how about this? Well, yeah, okay, then, yeah, we'll do that instead. No, like, say what you're going to do. Stand up for yourself. Like, this is why we're doing what we want to do. You are our driver. Comply with it. Like, we're the ones on the pit wall with all the information, all the data. We're making this call for a reason. Stick by it. There's so much team communication that I think goes wrong for McLaren. And I agree. I think, Harry, you mentioned this a few minutes ago. I agree with it entirely. It's a good thing that McLaren it's a good thing McLaren have a rocket ship of a car, because if they were in a direct championship battle this year, some of these things would potentially cost them. But as it happens, they're able to sail off into the distance. Yeah, I appreciate there are going to be others out there that hold the view that Piastri did the right thing here. That's absolutely fine. But I just think the Constructors' Championship's over. Let's focus on the drivers now.
If you're going to, like, this is an extreme view here, but if, like, that's how you're going to manage this championship, you should have told Piastri to pull over when Norris broke down in
yeah, no points for either car today.
Yeah. Well, none of you are getting them then.
It's not fair. It's not fair, is it? So neither side gets points, actually.
I'm annoyed you've said that, Harry, because if they're listening, they'll probably do that now. They're so easily swayed, they'll probably do it.
We won't put Piastri out for Baku, actually. It's only fair.
Yeah, just don't run in that day.
Well, he won the race last year, so we'll give someone else a turn this year.
The Twitter reaction was insane. I don't know if you guys are watching it, but yeah, they've shot themselves at the foot there with a bit of public opinion.
I just saw one, and there's so many, but someone said Piastri literally gave up on his position because his rival had a slow pit stop. Max Verstappen tried to kill Lewis Hamilton here in 2021.
The difference. That's the mentality, the difference.
It's not true. He didn't try to do that, but point proven.
4th and 6th place for Leclerc and Hamilton, respectively. At least Leclerc did hold P3 for what felt like 2 minutes before that Ferrari decided, whilst it was quick in a straight line and could therefore defend against George Russell, it was nowhere near quick enough through the corners to keep up with the top 3. Harry, should they be content with what is a pretty solid result after the disappointment of Zandvoort, or home Grand Prix, no podium? Is that a tough result?
I think they probably were hoping or expecting a podium here, at least. Especially after the promise of Friday, they looked pretty quick. But obviously, the route they went down was for ultimate one-lap pace by having very skinny rear wing, which in the end didn't really help them that much in quali anyway. So I wouldn't say it was worth it, but it made their race car not good, as you said. It tried to It tried to kill Leclerc in every corner. It looked like, especially when he was defending early on, like he was having a hard job keeping that car on track when he had Piastri behind. I mean, look, it's a double points finish, so there is that. But I think Ferrari will be disappointed. I think, it's the home GP. There's a lot of pressure there. They obviously won it last year. Leclerc started in exactly the same spot as well, but I think it was so clear early on that he did not have the same car underneath him that he did here. He did here last year. That it was going to be a tough day. So, yeah, double points, but not the greatest day at the office. Also, I think Hamilton did a good job to recover from where he was. And I'm not sure he could have done much more given the pace and the performance of that car. So, relatively good recovery from Hamilton as well. So, an average day at the Ferrari office.
Painfully average. Sam, what was your verdict on Ferrari?
You have to ask the question, if Max Verstappen is able to have the races that he's gone through previously being so far away from McLaren, then one of those Ferraris, in theory, could have been able to produce the same result as what that Red Bull was able to produce. At least slot into the gap between, the 19-second gulf of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris in second place. Surely the Ferrari was able to come up with something to put one of their cars, especially Leclerc, who looked mighty feisty at the start of this Grand Prix. I loved how elbows out he was. I loved how aggressive he was. He really tried to seize the day in the first few laps. And the battle he put up against Piastri was sensational. He had to produce a brilliant re-overtake from Piastri to go around the outside of him through the Lesmos. Great move. Really enjoyed watching that. And I thought for a little while he was going to hang on until it became incredibly apparent that, as you both mentioned, that Ferrari was set up essentially to run the world's longest straight line. And any corners were going to topple any hopes of a podium performance. Thought Lewis Hamilton maybe had one of his best performances, if not his best Ferrari performance, like a feature-length race. Of course, he's done better in sprints, but did a really good job at getting himself through some quite quick cars. And as we saw with that Ferrari being so tricky through the corners, I think he delivered a really solid Grand Prix. Not spectacular. I think there was room on the cards for him to beat Russell. He got close enough a number of times that you saw with the gap that Leclerc was able to pull over Russell, that maybe Hamilton could have got past him. Would have been tricky, but I think it was possible. But a good Grand Prix overall for Lewis to recover to basically where he started before the penalty. It's Leclerc and his setup that was so frustrating. I do think there was something in that car that meant that when McLaren were having this weakness and playing their silly, silly games, one of those cars could have stuck it into P2 overall in this Grand Prix. So they'll be disappointed that there's no podium at this home Grand Prix, but it is just standard running for Ferrari.
I don't know what the point in this race was. It was very early on when it was like, oh, okay, Ferrari, they haven't got it. And Leclerc had dropped back to 3 seconds behind Piastri after the move had happened for the second time. And it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see what kind of an afternoon we're in for Ferrari, in which case they probably got about as much out of this weekend as they could have done. It's just frustrating that was as much as they could get out of this weekend based on what they did last year as well, with Leclerc starting in the same position, but obviously mounting a challenge for the race win. 25 seconds behind Verstappen was Leclerc at the flag, which, given strategically, they were pretty similar. That's a tough one to take because there have been plenty of races this year where Red Bull haven't been on it. And Ferrari, even the mites of Ferrari have been able to beat Red Bull. So to see a difference of 25 seconds between Verstappen and Leclerc will definitely frustrate for Ferrari. With McLaren, I think the time gap is maybe a bit more difficult to judge just because Piastri and Norris were very clearly goal hanging for a safety car and seeing what they could do differently to Verstappen. They didn't have the ultimate strategy for speed today, did either McLaren. The fact that they went so long on that first stint to then pit quite late on for softs, I'm pretty sure if they had gone for the optimal strategy, if they'd pit when Verstappen pit, they'd have been quite comfortably ahead of Leclerc as well. So pace-wise, disappointing. It's never great when you go all out for one lap pace, and then that's only good enough for fourth and fifth. And maybe Ferrari knew after fourth and fifth in qualifying what a tricky afternoon they were going to be in for. Sixth place for Hamilton, I thought, as you've both said, I think it was pretty solid. I think he got the job done, which sounds a bit negative, but he got everything done he needed to get done, which was dispatch of the cars ahead of him that were going to be marginally slower than the Ferrari. He did that pretty easily, and I thought pretty clinically. And then as soon as that job was done, it was a case of, is there any way I can get past George Russell? And he put the pressure on. He was right there with Russell and Leclerc for most of that race. So I think his pace was good, just not exceptional enough to make any further gains from where he was. What about Mercedes, Harry? George Russell in between the two Ferraris in fifth place. Antonelli a bit further down in the points, not helped also by a 5-second penalty for driving erratically, as said by the stewards. Thoughts on what Russell was able to do, and are Mercedes in a position here, particularly versus Ferrari, where they are missing someone in that fight?
I thought Russell did a pretty solid job all race, to be honest. That car was not set up for it in the opposite way to Ferrari. It was not set up for straight line speed. It had a bit more downforce for the corners, which I think probably made it overall a faster race car, but it couldn't ever get past anyone ever, which made it a tough day for him, because I think probably he could have been P4, but it just never worked out that way. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good race. I think you're right. They probably, in that scenario where they had Leclerc and Hamilton sandwiching Russell, they were missing Antonelli, who, again, just watching him every time is just eventful. Like, I'm exhausted watching Antonelli, because it's just always something happening. He did pick up points in the end.
2 points
after the 5-second penalty. 2 points, which is better than no points, obviously. But yeah, again, just an eventful race when he just needs maybe a slightly quieter one. Obviously, the pace, he was sort of starting further back, so hard for him to catch up into that Ferrari battle and to begin with. So yeah, it's something Mercedes would want. I'm not really sure, like today specifically, that it would have added, but certainly moving forward, they're gonna want that. So again, like Ferrari, kind of an okay average day at the office for Mercedes too.
Sam, what did you make of Mercedes? We've kind of got the solid performance of George Russell, where he's finished where he qualified. Antonelli was there alongside him on that third row of the grid to start this race. Pretty costly first lap.
Shocker at the start from Antonelli. It's not the first time we've seen this from Kimi as well. Like, it is starting to cost them. I think we were unanimous in saying a few episodes ago that through this latter stage of the season, Mercedes are pretty likely to actually catch Ferrari as they start to understand their car further, and they've made changes to their upgrade package to make Kimi Antonelli feel more comfortable. Now, whilst that definitely rang true in his qualifying, being right there next to Russell, I think that was really positive that he was able to be there right next to Russell. You ain't scoring points in qualifying, and having a start that is that poor, that meant he just had to try and climb through a really tricky, tumultuous top end of that grid there. And he was never going to challenge, especially when Hamilton and Leclerc were doing all that they could in that Ferrari, I think. Russell, really solid again. So much so that my voice broke saying that. It's a really fantastic testament to how good Russell is, that car looked like it couldn't get past anyone without having to throw it down the inside. And he's stuck right there with Leclerc for most of the Grand Prix. They put him into a tricky position, we tried to box early to get to an undercut, and he made light work of the likes of Stroll and Ocon, who he came up behind on older tyres, yes, but even though the car was the first in the straight line, got the job done. And he was putting pressure on the Ferraris because of that. He was able to cut through faster than I expected. So Russell, once again, just showing why he's so good. It is Antonelli's seat that's costing them right now. And they're really fortunate that they're not playing for anything. It doesn't really matter if they finish third or fourth or second. They get more wind tunnel time the lower down that they finish, so maybe that's a bonus for them. But they're going to need Kimi Antonelli to come to terms with whatever rookie bugbear issues he's got right now, because if next season they have got a car that can compete, he's going to need to be way closer to the front than where he is right now.
This felt like the first time in a while that we might have got a true representation between Russell and Antonelli, because Antonelli has had some qualifying woes as of late and various reasons, some DNFs in there as well, various reasons why drawing a comparison between Russell and Antonelli has been quite difficult. Here it felt like starting on the same row of the grid, a circuit like Monza, if they get an okay start and they're still fifth and sixth, we can actually see, can Antonelli keep pace with Russell? And if so, by how much? If he's going to drop back, by how much? But that poor start has just cost us that comparison point again. And Antonelli had to spend far too many laps trying to get back to where he was. Now, of course, he got the 5-second penalty in there as well for what we believe was his racing etiquette versus Alex Albon. So disappointing for Mercedes and Antonelli that, you know, they're walking away here with 12 points, whereas Ferrari are walking away with 20. You're right, Sam. It's not one where it's going to be pivotal for a championship this season. George Russell, again, has just done exactly what George Russell seems to do and has been doing all year long, which is making the most out of whatever Mercedes give him. It's just frustrating from his side that only once or twice this season, well, once this season, Canada, it's actually been enough to properly fight for a win. And on too many occasions, it's been good enough to fight for 5th place, which is what he's got today. Shall we give out our driver of the day?
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at driving.
Sam, you've got the honours.
Lovely. I've got 3 names, but you know, as I'm first, I shan't reel them off. I'm sure maybe you'll pick them up. I'm going to go for the easy one. The guy that was 19 seconds clear in the car that wasn't the favourite. Max Verstappen is my driver of the day. A sensational performance, and it was good to see him back at his very best. So good to see Max drive when he's got a car that is worthy of his fantastic talent. A brilliant performance.
Harry.
Max Verstappen. He's quite good at the F1.
There it
still. Yeah, 19 seconds, as Sam said. That is a dominant win in a car that is not the dominant car this year. So highly impressive. I know it's the obvious one, but don't care. He's really good.
He is pretty good. Some contenders in the midfield as well, I thought, including, and I was tempted to give it to him, Fernando Alonso, who was only there for half the race, but he was brilliant for that half of the race. And I just want to make sure he gets his flowers, and I'm sure someone out there will be annoyed that I've done that. But it'll get even more attention.
That pit entry behind Sportaletta.
It's so Alonso, isn't it?
So
it's
good.
So Alonso.
Lesson number 3 for the year for Alonso and his masterclass.
Don't leave a meter. Don't leave a meter to play with.
I'm still not convinced that Aston Martin was quicker than maybe the 8th fastest car this weekend. I just don't think it was suited for this track. And the fact that he was probably on course for 8th place, I think, if not for that suspension failure, I thought he had a great Grand Prix. But I am going to make it 3 Max Verstappen shouts. So yeah, Verstappen gets my driver of the day.
My other 2 were Hajar and Albon.
Albon was definitely in the fight for sure. Let's go to worst driver of the day.
Get in the bin, worst driver of the day. Bin, worst driver of the day. Bin, you suck at driving.
Harry, who have you got?
Carlos Sainz. Terrible day.
The stewards disagree with you.
Can't wait to get onto that.
Stewards on everything. Yeah, it was just a messy day. And I mean, to be fair, you only got a reprimand for not doing the chicane. How does that work? What's the point in that if you're not? Anyway, we'll get into the stewards. Yeah, just a messy day all around that ended with no points for him and his teammate getting points instead.
Yeah, I had Carlos Sainz in the mix for sure, and he is a very dominant 19th place if I'm looking at my driver ratings. But there's one driver who's just pipped him for me, and that's Yuki Tsunoda. When your teammate...
What do you mean? 13th? That Strat? What are you talking about?
That was tough to watch. That was not good. The fact that he was struggling throughout most of the first stint to stay within DRS of the cars in front when he's battling with his teammate won this race by 20 seconds. And I know we've seen it before. This is a repeated story of Verstappen suiting that car where others don't. But this felt like an opportunity. He had a solid starting position to actually gain some solid points. But he spent most of the second half of this race battling against Liam Lawson, who had much older tyres, whereas the likes of Bortoletto and Behrman had got by Lawson and was shooting off into the distance, and Tsunoda's still there battling Lawson. This might have been his worst race of the season. I thought it was really bad. Sam?
You've picked the two that I would have gone for. The thing about Yuki Tsunoda, I think his fastest lap was the second slowest lap recording in terms of fastest laps of all 20 drivers. Well, not Hulkenberg, obviously. RIP.
I don't know. That formation lap might have clinched it. I don't know.
I think only Behrman in the Haas had a slower fastest lap than Yuki Tsunoda. So that's pretty rough. I'm going for Sainz, though. Screw the skewers on this one. We'll get into that in a minute. But you get to cut the chicane so audaciously that even Martin Brundle was like, why doesn't everyone just do it again 2 seconds and just take a reprimand? Just do it. Why not? There's no rules. Yeah, sorry, mate. You can't just drive into people acting like they're not there. You had such a go last time out in Netherlands because Lawson was hitting you on the outside and you do that to Behrman. Yeah, stinker. Both of them not great. 9th to 13th from Tsunoda. Shocker. But for me, when you start in front of your teammate and your teammate ends up in 7th and you end up outside the points, not good.
Big brain Strat.
Bob, we're going to need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
Sam, what have you got?
McLaren debacle from earlier. I'm not going on them again, but that was just farcical.
Harry, your big brain Strat.
Charles Leclerc pitting for hard tyres, then him questioning it afterwards, and Ferrari clearly not having an answer, just saying we'll discuss it later because you don't know why you've done this.
They were scrambling in the last part of this race to come up with reasons as to why they did it so they could explain it afterwards.
What do we say? We lost the tyres.
Passing notes on the pit wall, comparing like, oh yeah, that's a good reason. Let's use that one.
They don't realise they've left the radio on so Charles Leclerc can hear all of this.
You know what? It wouldn't even shock him. He'd be like, yeah, here we go.
My big brain Strat, just to offer up something different. It's just so funny at this point that Esteban Ocon isn't allowed to pit. It's just great. Ocon has a restraining order against the pit lane. He can either pit on lap 1 or the last lap and nothing in between.
Do you think Haas ever consider like a normal mid-race strategy? No, can't be done.
They did it with Behrman and they're like, that's enough of that.
It worked once for them and now they're like, we must pit on lap 1 or 53.
I appreciate the 5-second penalty essentially left him fighting for nothing, but it's just really funny. Let's focus on some of these midfield scraps. I tell you what, Sam, it feels like Alex Albon at Williams is intentionally getting knocked out in Q2 these days because he knows he'll gain like 7 positions in the race and come home with solid points. What did you make of his day?
I think he just finds it so easy. He's got to play on hard mode. I think that's what he's doing. He might be the most underrated driver in Formula One right now. Genuinely, we gave him a lot of stick at the start of the year. A lot of, can he cope with Sainz? Is he going to be able to deal with Carlos Sainz? Will Sainz make it his team? He's going, Sainz, Schmeitz. This is Alex Albon's team. This is
him.
So absolute bag of chips there. Anyway, yeah, this was such a brilliant drive from Alex Albon. He got caught up behind his teammate, and we heard the protests from Carlos, who were like, oh, guys, please, this isn't the right call. I don't want to let him go. And then Albon just drives off into the sunset, drops him out of DRS so quickly. Such a clean and well-executed Grand Prix starting on the hard tyre. Did brilliantly when got onto the medium tyre to perform the overcut, which is great strategically from Williams to get him out in front of that battle that was happening behind with the likes of the Haas drivers, with Stroll, with Lawson, with his teammate. They just kept on driving. And they, of course, had to deal with the erratic Antonelli, as I haven't seen the footage. Have you guys seen it anywhere?
Is this the one where they're going through Evergrande, right?
Yeah, is that it? Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
I didn't see another thing, but...
All right. 5 seconds for Antonelli. Gains the place. Albon has an absolute scorcher of a Grand Prix. Brilliant performance from Alex Albon. Deserves his flowers, deserves his points, and I'm glad that he got another great result because he went through a bit of a tricky period in that middle part of the season.
I'm a bit surprised in the midfield that there weren't a couple more drivers that tried this Alex Albon strategy because it worked really well for Albon, and Albon deserves a lot of credit because he made it work. I am surprised there aren't 1 or 2 more, whether it's Behrman, whether it's Tsunoda, who also tried this, because the way in which this race unfolded is quite common for an Italian GP, where you kind of get the top 6 or so go off into the distance, and then you get something of a DRS train from 7th or 8th back. And Albon essentially was happy to sit at the back of that train with his hard tyres, knowing that, okay, at the beginning of this race, it's likely the medium's going to have a bit of an advantage. But later on, when we start to get some pit stops, I'm still going to be directly behind some of these guys on mediums, and I'm going to have better tyres at that point in the race. And that's what we had with him versus his teammate, right? As soon as some of the gaps started to, appear a little bit more later in this race, those hard tyres came into their own. And Alex Albon, fair play to him, he really made it work. It's not the first time we've seen him do really well on tyre wear late into a Grand Prix. But even with that, he still needed to make this strategy work with a couple of overtakes on those medium tyres towards the end. He got it done. Yeah, I know there was a little bit of difficulty with Antonelli, but also Antonelli's driving a Mercedes, so you'd expect something of a challenge there. And he got back to exactly where he should have been. His pace versus Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc in front of him wasn't that bad either. I think he might be a little bit annoyed about one lap pace and that he wasn't a bit higher up to start this Grand Prix, but ultimately it hasn't really mattered. I think he's got the maximum out of this. Harry, your thoughts on Alex Albon, and then maybe give us a thought on the driver who finished behind him as well, Gabriel Bortoleto.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Albon was very impressive today, and I think turned around what was looking like what could have been a difficult weekend. I think certainly on Friday he didn't have the pace of Sainz, but didn't let his head drop, and obviously worked on it and has come away with points where Sainz didn't. So yeah, I'm with you, Ben. I was a bit surprised not more didn't try that strategy. Some were just going like for the Ocon, Stroll, Hail Mary strategy, which didn't work at all. But yeah, well executed from Albon. I know he was let past, the team let him pass, but I think it was probably worth that call. Bortoleto continues to impress. This Albon looked good this weekend, but once again he out-qualifies Hulkenberg. And now I know Hulkenberg didn't even get a chance to rectify that in the race with the car issue, but yeah, Bortoleto is driving that car super well, super consistently at the moment as well. And yeah, once again brings home some more points for Sauber. He is taking the lessons from Alonso seriously, I'm imagining. But yeah, there was a point where he had Alonso behind him for quite a long time. Now I'm a little bit convinced Alonso was just sat there because his car's really slow in a straight line and just wanted DRS. But that's still pressure. You got two-time world champ right behind you for a number of laps, and it was only the pit stop that cost him that position to begin with. So, yeah, once again, more impressive driving from Bortoleto. They've got a little star on their hands there. I think Sauber, maybe unexpectedly. I don't know. That's harsh to say, but perhaps he's impressing more than most thought. So, yeah, another good afternoon for those two.
Yeah, I think from Bortoleto's perspective, he took advantage of everything else that was happening around him, and the strategy that he was on, which he was one of the early stoppers, there wasn't that much of an advantage to that strategy. We saw with Alex Albon and Isaac Hadjar, there could be real gains made by those going late on that first stint and then making their stop. The undercut or the early pit stop wasn't that great of a play here, but Bortoleto still made it work. Now, he's probably, what would have happened with him versus Alonso, we don't know, and that is definitely a learning moment for him, the fact that he didn't make the most out of that braking zone like Alonso or Charles Leclerc definitely did later in the race. There's time to be found there, but his overall, his overall what he did on the racetrack was brilliant, and 19 points separating him and Hulkenberg now.
I knew it. I know you can't let it go, can you?
Yeah, Bortoleto won't let me let it go. He keeps coming up with these performances and just that gap is shrinking.
Well, there's a little part of me that hopes it gets down to 1 point in Abu Dhabi. That's how it stays.
You know what? No, my luck. Yeah, that's probably how it will go. But he was exceptional. Sure, that car was better than it was at Zandvoort, but he really took advantage of that. Also in the points, Sam, we thought after qualifying we'd finally found Isaac Hadjar's kryptonite, because he has a knack of qualifying in the top 10 and basically just staying there and getting some good points. First Q1 elimination, and made even worse by the fact that he has to start from the pit lane. Maybe finally we see a bit of a weakness overtaking. We haven't had to see him do much of that this year. Pit lane's 10th, no worries.
Easy breezy for him. I mean, it helps that so many in front of him across that Grand Prix experienced some kind of problem. You know, you had the Behrman Sainz incident, Antonelli, of course, going backwards. I know he finished behind him, but I think it probably helped. Tsunoda went from 9th to 13th. That's not going to be optimal. Hulkenberg didn't even start the Grand Prix. That's another place. Now, that's not to put him down. Hajar had a sensational Grand Prix. His pace throughout the race was really, really strong. Managed to stick in that DRS train, much like what Albon managed to do as well. And he got clinical moves done when they actually mattered. There weren't too many to write home about, but he was really, really solid. Pit strategy seemed like he was just keeping himself to himself. It was not stressing out. Comes in just before the likes of Stroll, comes in before Ocon, who were the cars in front of him at the time, right when Russell got to the back of him. And it just allowed him to basically split this race down the middle, run fast with both sets of tyres, stay clear of any trouble, picks up a point for his troubles. I mean, in a Racing Bulls, pit lane to 10th. It's a really solid Grand Prix. And once again, he's outdone his teammate, Liam Lawson, who I think again had solid pace, but gets himself into the wars for absolutely no reason. You could play F1 bingo at this point, drink every time Lawson doesn't have contact with a car in a Grand Prix. You might be very sober coming the end of the season. But yeah, a fantastic race from Hajar. I think he'll be happy with picking up a point after what felt like a really tough Saturday for him and the team.
Let's cover off some of these stewards' decisions, or in some instances, non-decisions. Let's start with the Carlos Sainz reprimand. I'll kick off because I think you've probably both indicated where you're at with this one, and I am right there with you. What are we doing here? Like, Martin Brundle, fair play to Martin Brundle. He has, at least for UK Sky commentary, he has outlined this perfectly, which is why on earth, if you aren't the other 19 drivers, don't you do exactly the same thing? Because if you can get away with it once and you can make up at least a second's worth of time, you've got to go for it. How on earth has he avoided a penalty? I do not know. What's the point of having that rule?
I don't know. Who knows?
And
quite literally, I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know how he's avoiding a penalty. It doesn't make any sense throughout the rule book as to how he hasn't been given a penalty for this.
Great. So I think we're unanimous on that one. The other one with Carlos Sainz was his contact with Ollie Behrman, where Behrman receives a 10-second time penalty. Both of them spun, and point raised in the debrief in the cool-down room afterwards is that it didn't lead to a safety car, but would have been very interesting if it did. Both cars got going ultimately, but Behrman with that 10-second penalty. Harry, did you agree with it?
No. I know you two are really mad about this, but I honestly, I don't know where are the rules? What are the rules anymore? I don't understand how these drivers are supposed to or allowed to go racing anymore. Carlos Sainz, fairly gone for the move around the outside here. It's doable. We saw last year with Piastri and Norris. It works. It's tight. It's a bit squeaky, but you can get through there side by side. So fair enough. It's a fair move, and he's got the high ground somewhat in terms of that he's managed to break a bit later. But then just decides that Behrman doesn't exist anymore and just turns in, and somehow that's Behrman's fault. This rule, I know we talked about this last week, but this rule about whoever's at the apex first, blah, 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 all that is just absolute nonsense, because you get farcical decisions like these where you can just turn in on a driver and cause an accident, and yet you get away with it. How does that work? I don't know how. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the stewarding room as they make these decisions to hear what they're actually saying, because I don't understand it. Now, I'm going to end that there because Ben was really, really mad about this before we started recording, and I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. I was so mad at this. Like, I was trying to remember the last time I was as mad at this as in an F1 race, and I have to go back to 2021 Saudi Arabia for the last time I was as annoyed in a race as this, because this is absolute garbage. what are we doing? What are we actually doing? I cannot repeat what my reaction was when that penalty came through, but it was said rather loudly, and it started with an F. Good news that I've had a chance to reflect in the hour since that incident. Good news, there is a positive to this, and that is I'm going to clip this incident, and at any point there is accusation of British bias from stewards, I will show them this clip. Because how have you come to the conclusion that Oliver Bearman gets a 10-second penalty? They put their reasoning up. They might as well have just put he existed as the reason for the penalty. Because that's all he did. He existed. And as a result of that 10 seconds, he's well outside the points. Bearman had a pretty good race, I thought, to that point. This is supposed to be the elite of like motor racing. And we don't have a grid that for reasons like relating to regulations or the drivers themselves, they cannot race side by side. Why can't we have that? It's so simple. If you are side by side into a corner, you get racing room. Whether you are on the inside or the outside, it does not matter. Side by side equals you get the chance to race. That's it. If you're Carlos Sainz, why wouldn't you keep doing this? There's no reason not to.
He gets spun.
It faces the wrong way.
Sure, but if Bearman's in that spot again, he knows he's going to get a penalty, so he just backs out of a move and we get no fighting into a corner.
That's the problem, isn't it? Sainz is the one making the overtake. The move is never done. The move is never complete. He is, a wheel in front of Bearman's wheel when they go into the corner. F1 luck giveth, F1 luck taketh, I suppose, because he gets that 10-second penalty in Zandvoort against Lawson. We all probably agree that was more of a racing incident where both of them were realistically at fault here. But Sainz is fully at fault for this one. The fact that you can't run even close to another car through a corner through risk of just existing and getting a penalty because you exist is a joke. It's silly. It's unfair, and it's ruining what could be really exciting. That could be a fantastic wheel-to-wheel battle. And in future, when that happens again, Bearman, whoever it might be, is going to have to just slam on the brakes and go, you come through. Please be my guest, because I don't want to, one, get taken out and be blamed for it, or pick up a penalty for doing what? Trying to get through the corner at any reasonable speed in a competitive manner. It's a joke, and we can't have wheel-to-wheel racing in Formula One. You're not allowed it. You've been naughty this year, children, and we're taking it away.
And you just swap drivers around via teams now. So racing is dead, is what we're saying here.
You just barter. You go, I'd like to come through, please. Yes, I'll go through next race.
Let's quickly run through a couple more incidents that happened at the same corner. Ocon got a 5-second penalty for he was judged to have squeezed Stroll onto the grass. Sam, did you agree with that one?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to recall it. I'm not getting a lie. There was a lot that went on. Yeah, sure. Sorry, Ocon. Naughty boy. Penalty. That might just be how the stewards make up their mind in real life, to be honest.
Are you the steward?
Yes. No, I'm not actually that stupid. Yeah, 5-second penalty. Why not?
Why not? Hey, that's a steward talking if I've ever heard one.
We're getting in the mood.
Harry, any thoughts on this one?
I probably wouldn't have gone for a penalty on this one. Ocon marginally moves over, to which point Stroll does end up on the grass, but Stroll's coming in pretty hot as well down the outside. I'm not entirely sure I would have given a pen on this one if he was fully off, but he just nudges the grass. But yeah, like Sam says, why not at this point? Just hand him out. I don't know. Might as well.
I thought it was incredibly marginal, to the point where this was the one incident where I wouldn't have had a go at the stewards either way. If they decide it was like a 50-50 challenge, like maybe you give it sometimes, maybe you don't, but it's close. So I didn't mind this one. And the last one was Lawson versus Tsunoda. Now they gave the position, Lawson gave the position straight back to Tsunoda, so there was no need for the stewards to get involved. But as you've already said, Sam, more contact involving Lawson in a Grand Prix race.
Yeah, it's just clumsy again, isn't it? It's making decisions so rash where you've got more of a race to think about. Snow was having a stinker. Lawson was actually doing okay on older tyres because he pitted so much earlier than everyone else to try and get the undercut of all undercuts. And I think Tsunoda probably squeezes Lawson, but I think Lawson also sticks his nose in a little bit too late into the move. So I do probably think this was a racing incident, but it's more on the overall driver thought process of, why are you risking this much to try and get in front this far back in the Grand Prix? You need to get a move that's clear cut and you need to be more ruthless with it and do it properly, not this half-assed, momentum type of move, which is you're going to risk chopping your front wing off, and they almost did again. So sloppy, silly, poor racecraft.
As a snapshot of Red Bull's current situation today, that as an incident and Max Verstappen winning is like perfect summary of where they are right now. They've got Verstappen winning the race, Tsunoda, their current second driver, and the one other second driver they got rid of after 2 races, tripping over each other for absolutely no reason, for nothing, no points.
It's a summary of Red Bull right now. It was so clumsy. I think it's stupid. Like, again, Lawson should, I think, be given room based on where he was. He wasn't by Tsunoda. He's the one who has to let Tsunoda back by. What are we doing? That's enough of that. Let's review some bold predictions because that will make us feel much better about it.
That's gone the right way to go.
Sam, what was your bold prediction?
I said that Hamilton would get a podium. He did not.
No. If he kept up the rate of overtakes from the first 5 laps, you were on to a winner, but it slowed a bit from there. Harry, your bold prediction?
Both Ferraris would be on the podium, which, as Sam's just alluded to, not even one was on. So, nope. Big old nope.
Big old nope. But good news, I did say that there would be an overtake for the lead of the Drivers' Championship in the last 5 laps. And I believe Norris and Piastri, there was a switch. So I'll take the win.
Have a day off, Ben.
I might have said that there would be an overtake for the race win. I might have specified that, which didn't happen. Cheers, Max. So 0 out of 3 on bold predictions. Sam, what was your moment of the race?
Well, as much as it caused me outrage and has led to hopefully quite a clickbaity moment for all of you out there listening, I am going to give it to that McLaren battle because it was
content.
Yeah, it's content. It's a content farm.
Content.
Thanks, F1, for the clicks. But also, I think it just shows you what state that team are in. They're so good in the car and the drivers are so brilliant. Source it out. But yeah, that wasn't over the race because it produced such an illicit reaction from me.
Harry, your moment of the race.
A couple of shout outs. One we already discussed about Leclerc being told we'll discuss it later because Ferrari don't have any idea. Piastri's move around the outside of Leclerc around the first Lesmo, saucy.
Sensational.
Some of them can race still, which is a real shame when we get stupid other just incidents that we don't want to see. But the one I'm going for, and I apologize to those who don't hear this commentary, but it's Sky F1 specific. Christian Horner texting Martin Brundle in the middle of the broadcast about their downforce. You don't work there anymore, son. Stop it. What are you talking about?
Go outside, Christian. Like,
that's the class, man. Oh, it was a real like he was just trying to get back in. Like, yeah, that's all me. That's that winning right there.
I'm still relevant.
Yeah.
I did that.
Mate, let it go.
My moment of the race, as just alluded to, Leclerc versus Piastri. Good racing.
Yeah, great move around the outside.
Yeah, I thought that was the highlight, but the entire battle I thought was good while it lasted, and then Ferrari reverted back to a tractor, and that was the end of that.
Verstappen's move to get back in front of Norris as well was actually pretty tasty into turn 1. Well, that was good.
Indeed.